start time on a nice day here in Miami. It's the Braves and the Marlins, second of a short two-game set between these two NL East foes. It is camp day here at the ballpark, and guess who's here? Magneuris Sierra, called up from AAA, is here because Garrett Cooper is on the DL, going to make his Marlins debut in the starting lineup today. Oh, look at that. How about that? Donnie Baseball getting a picture with his namesake. With that, we say hi again, everybody, and welcome inside the broadcast booth. Paul Severino and Todd Hollinsworth. So, trying to bounce back from last night. This Atlanta Braves team now tied atop the National League East. We've seen it a few times this year. They can score runs, and they did that last night, unrelenting.
Well, we look up and down that lineup. We've seen it all season long. We saw a little bit of it last year, kind of developing. They've added some young talent like Acuna in the top spot, Culberson filling in for Albies, and look at the production. I mean, that's it. I mean, listen, we can sit here and talk about multi-hit efforts yesterday. We can talk about doubles. We can talk about home runs. But for me, Acuna and Culberson have to be contained today. Freeman's going to get his. Markakis always seems to get his as well. But you've got to control the guys around those two hot hitters. And again, the Marlins weren't able to do that last night. It turned into an explosive offensive game for the Atlanta Braves. But you got Chen on the mound today, so hopefully you can keep that in check a little bit more.
Yeah, the only change, barring the pitcher, of course, Kurt Suzuki out, Tyler Flowers in. In terms of the Marlins side of things, Wei-Yin Chen's going to have to try to corral that offense, and pitching at home and the road has kind of been the story for him, but luckily today we focus on the good.
Well, it's an amazing story when you talk about his road ERA and his home ERA, and you know, people ask you questions like, so what gives? I mean, he throws the same at home. His arsenal's very much the same. He uses the same type of pitches the same way. The only answer that you can really come up with is confidence, and Marlins Park certainly provides that, I think, for a lot of starters, a lot of pitchers. When they come in here, you see the fly ball to 402 feet away in center field, and a lot of times he gets caught. His confidence is high. You've seen the 183 ERA. He's throwing strikes, and you hope he does the same today.
We talked a lot about the youth and the veteran mix of this Atlanta Braves team. Kind of right in the middle there is Julio Teheran, a guy that we have seen for many years, but still rather young, and certainly seen a lot of him with the Marlins.
He's had a very nice career. You're right. He's still kind of a young guy in this rotation. I'm not sure he's the guy with the best stuff in this rotation any longer, and maybe that was the story a few seasons ago, but he's still out there making start after start. 3.82 ERA career against the Marlins. One thing he's been vulnerable for this season is the big inning. Let's see if the Marlins can maybe find that. They did last time they saw him. They hit for the cycle in Atlanta and were able to put a 6 spot up on him. Unfortunately, didn't win that day.
Looking to bounce back and get a split of this two-game series as we enjoy camp day, and we will meet Magneuris when we come back. He gets the start today, his Marlins debut. We're back after this. roster for more. Out to center field, Craig and the guys.
That's exciting. He wore number 74 in spring training, number 34, Magneri's Sierra. He's a speedster. They got him in the deal with Ozuna in St. Louis. He's up here. He'll play center field. We talked with him before the game about what he brings to the table, making his Marlins debut here today.
Bueno, el tipo de jugador que soy yo es un jugador rápido.
I use my speed. My game is stealing bases and playing defense.
Y eso es algo que me va a ayudar a mí en mi carrera.
My focus every time I'm getting to entering the game is just finding ways to get on base, because that way I can help the team out by scoring runs. So my focus is always get on base and score.
You know, I think it's nice when a young kid comes up and he has the energy. You'd like to see a little infusion of the speed after a couple of losses. Who knows, maybe that'll help a little bit. Tough break for Garrett Cooper. We never really got to see, I think, the 100% Garrett Cooper with that wrist injury.
Yeah, and with Sierra, I got the chance to actually talk to him today in the clubhouse. I asked him, "How are you nervous?" Of course I'm nervous. You know, it's one of those things where he's going to be nervous. He's going to have those jitters. But one of the best things that I see is he just got here today, put him in the lineup. Let him get out there, let him play, let him get it off. You know, maybe his first at-bat, his legs will be a little shaky, but you're going to see that he's going to get comfortable very quickly.
Considered an excellent defender, blazing speed. He had 14 steals down in New Orleans, doesn't walk a lot, but did hit over 300 in his limited stint, over 60 at-bats with St. Louis here in the big leagues last year. But it will be exciting to see Magneri's Sierra in center field, running them down out there in this big outfield for Miami. Game 2 of the series. It's the Braves and the Marlins. It is next.
Is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By WB Mason. Who but WB Mason, the official office supply company of the Miami Marlins. By Chevrolet. See your South Florida dealer today. And by your local Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. Here in South Florida, roof is closed. Rain off and on so far this morning and early afternoon. Wei-Yin Chen on the mound against the Atlanta Braves. As we get a look at their starting lineup presented to you by Southwest. Ronald Acuna Jr. last 3 games in the leadoff spot has set the tone for this offense. Charlie Culberson a great night last night. Of course, Freddie Freeman with the home run that really got the Braves going en route to their 12-run output in the opener of this 2-game series. So Wei-Yin Chen has to continue what he's been doing at home and keep the Braves bats at bay this afternoon to try to get a split.
Yeah, what he's been doing at home, fantastic numbers. 183 ERA. This is his 8th start at Marlins Park. Just under 40 innings. He's only allowed 29 hits. One thing that stands out, only 2 home runs allowed. It's an impressive number. Whip of 107. His numbers are so drastic in one direction or the other, you almost have to dismiss one or the other when you think about talking about Chen. He's 2 different guys.
This is his first start after the All-Star break. His last start was against the Phillies in the first game of that 3-game set leading up to the All-Star break. As Riddle gets a chance at short to retire Acuna by a step at first, and that is the first out.
Let's get you the Marlins defensively for this afternoon's ball game. Dietrich gets the start in left. Sierra in center field. Good to see him out there. Anderson over in right. Picked up his 7th outfield assist last night. Most by a right fielder in the National League. That's impressive stuff. Prado, Riddle, Castro, and Bohr. JT behind the plate with Chen on the mound.
So here's Charlie Culberson. He takes strike 1, coming off a career-high 4-hit night last night. And facing Chen today. So again, he hasn't started in, well, a little over a week now. Marlins able to shuffle the rotation so that he could pitch at home. Another play by Riddle, this one up the middle. And Bohr able to keep his toe on the bag. Albeit a close play at first that the Braves may think about taking a peek at. We see their manager Brian Snitker waiting for word.
It's just a question of whether the big guy JB kept his foot on the bag, and he did. That's what they wanted to see. So 2 outs here in the first. We talk about the splits with Chen. It's absolutely amazing to me. How about a batting average against of 204 at home, on the road 359? That's a 160-point difference. I mean, you look at the arsenal, you look at how he sequences his pitches. I mean, you'd think there'd be something quite specific that you say, this is what he does at home and this is what he doesn't do on the road. Yet there's no evidence of that. To me, it's the word confidence.
The man in the box is not short on confidence at all. He's even up, ball and a strike. Freddie Freeman, 17 home runs, 66 RBIs. Had a home run and 2 ribbies last night. Rips this one. A base hit in front of Anderson. So he continues to hit against the Miami Marlins. He is now 16 for 33 this year.
A 2-seam fastball. Pretty much splits the plate, even at 93 miles an hour, and against the lefty, he hangs in there, hitting 350 this year against lefties. So no worries there for the Braves. An OPS over 1,000. Off to a good start, but I consider this a moral victory. 2 outs and a mere single for Freddie Freeman.
Well, that, other than getting him out, which clearly has been tough for Chen and the Marlins. 2 outs, nobody on base, keep him to a single is really the best case scenario.
Well, one thing that certainly will pop up, and I know this is a conversation we hopefully don't have too much today, the Atlanta Braves and 2-out runs. It has literally been a theme this season. 33 2-out runs against the Marlins in 7 ball games.
Braves are a club, and we have seen it from a distance. We have seen it up close. Whether it's 2 outs, 2 strikes, it doesn't matter. This is a relentless club. Playing under Brian Snitker. And at the start of play today, tied atop the National League East with the Philadelphia Phillies. Markakis with a dribbler foul.
For Chen, 3 consecutive quality starts here at Marlins Park. 2 earned runs over his last 18 innings. Good stuff. A 1 ERA. Of course, all this at home. Only 2 walks, 18 strikeouts in those 18 innings.
1-2 pitch to Markakis. Swung on and missed. Held on to by Real Muto. And that'll do it. Chen leaves Freeman at first. Personnel serving overseas are watching this game on AFN, the American Forces Network. Welcome to those in countries around the world aboard naval ships at seas, and thank you for your service. Derek Dietrich will lead things off for the Marlins this afternoon. Behind him in the Southwest lineup, Brian Anderson, JT Realmuto, able to get a few innings off last night as the Braves tacked on some late runs, so played about a half game last night, so able to come back after the day game after a night game. And there you see Magneuris Sierra in the 8th spot, getting the start today in center field, his Marlins debut. It's been Cameron Maben, who's been very productive out in center field the last few weeks, but Cam gets a day off as Dietrich digs in against Julio Teheran. Teheran, like Chen, making his first start after the All-Star break, and his first pitch is yanked foul just behind Perry Hill over there down the first baseline. 0-1.
There's his numbers. Teheran, 4 ERA, making his 20th start on the season, already over 100 innings. And one thing that really stands out, batting average against only .202. That's impressive. But when you pair that with a .409 slugging percentage against, and I'll get into that in a minute, you'll understand why that ERA sits right around 4. He's allowed 18 home runs in 105 innings this season.
I know you know the answer, but how old do you think Teheran is?
I believe he's about 27.
He is 27 years old. It just seems like he's been around forever.
Well, he has. He's kind of been pitching in that top spot for the Atlanta Braves, and I think because the story has now turned to the really good Braves, and he's not maybe the guy so much this season, that we think he's getting old, like he's worn out or something.
Yeah.
It's just not the case.
It is his 185th game today, 182nd start. He comes in at 1,115 in the 3rd innings pitched. Yes, 27 years old. Set for a 1-2 delivery to Derek Dietrich. Fouls off another, so making Teheran work in the opening AB of the game. Dietrich 0 for 2 last night, came in as a pinch hitter and then took over the rest of the game in left field. 3 RBIs, 5 for 21 this year against the Atlanta Braves. Spoils yet another.
Yeah, that's the mindset you've got to keep against Teheran. I tell you, throw any pitch, anytime, and he's got a pretty impressive arsenal. We'll get to it in a second here. Quality starts at 11 of his 19 starts this season. Lefties have hit 8 home runs, righties 10.
Five foul balls in this at-bat. Another 1-2 pitch. Tehran gets him at the top of the zone for the first out.
All right, let's get you that Auto Nation scouting report. Tehran for this afternoon's ball game. Fond memories, that's right. Well, at least in terms of Tehran, the Marlins had a great approach against him in Atlanta last time they saw him. In fact, they hit for this cycle in 1 inning. If you remember back, Brinson hit a grand slam in that particular inning. It was good stuff. Now, that 6-run 4th inning that they put up against Tehran was negated because they got walked off by the Atlanta Braves that day. So moving along, slug it out. This is where you kind of factor in who Tehran is, and we explain that for ERA. 52% of Tehran's hits allowed have gone for extra base hits, part of that being the home runs. That is the highest in all of baseball, 52%, 1.53 homers per 9. It is a 5-pitch mix, does not possess dominant velocity, 90-91, but you've already seen the 4-seam fastball, a little arm side run, a sinker, slider change and curve, and a base hit by Brian Anderson into right.
VA with the 1-out knock here in the first inning.
Yeah, the one thing that you would say, even when we talk about a 5-pitch mix in Tehran and how he tries to get you out, is to get him up. Just not too high in the zone, really. He'll make some mistakes up in the zone. Nice swing here by VA. Good to see Anderson kind of find his right field again. Struggling a little bit here in the second half to start. Get that groove back with a good start. This afternoon leads to a big game.
1 on, 1 out for JT Realmuto. 7 for 28 this year, a home run, 3 RBIs against the Braves. 0 for 3 last night, however. A little bit outside, says the home plate umpire Doug Eddings. Joe West is the crew chief. He's over at first. Marty Foster, the umpire, at second, and Mark Ripperger is over at third this afternoon.
If we were to talk a little offensive approach for the Marlins this afternoon going up against Tehran, sure some of the message in the clubhouse was think middle away, because Tehran does not possess dominant velocity. You don't have to concern yourself overly with the inside part of the plate, either the lefties or the righties. You can react to what he throws if you see inside, and you should still be on time, meaning you really have to put your attention and your focus on the middle of the field and the other way, allowing you to stay on his arsenal. As I said, 4 pitches, and he uses them all.
JT out to left field. This one is hit deep, and it is gone. A 2-run home run for JT Realmuto. And the Marlins on the board first this afternoon.
Yeah, good to see JT kind of finding that stroke once again. Last couple of ball games, things have been off a little bit for Anderson and JT Realmuto, even going back to Sunday in Tampa. Great start here this afternoon. He gets a hanging slider, center cut, and did not miss it.
So just as the Braves did last night, a 2-run first inning home run to left field. Last night it was Freddie Freeman. Today it is JT.
Well, 81-mile-an-hour sliders down the middle of the plate. We saw a couple of these last night. They got turned around 419 feet. JT, 101 miles an hour off the bat.
So a 2-run lead to work with for his battery mate, Wei-Yin Chen, as Justin Bour is ahead to count 2-0.
19th home run Tehran has given up this season. I guess that kind of explains slug it out a little bit.
A little bit. A little bit.
Well, good response, Paul. You know, we talk about this all season. We get to see these guys every day, right? The Marlins every pitch, every game. And one thing they've shown is some resilience. Sometimes teams, they get smacked around like what happened last night, and it takes them a day or two to kind of recover. Marlins don't seem to have that problem this season.
Yeah, I mean, just being around the club every day, but being a fan my whole life, first you sit there and you think as a fan, well, this one's going to sting for a little while. But the baseball player says, well, you show up and there's zeros on the board. Doesn't matter.
I'm telling you, if you can maintain the same, it's like the one thing that I talk about it offensively. It's kind of how my mind works, but you extract from this group moving forward is the ability to kind of, put each day in its own bubble. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to get a team to even understand that.
2 balls and 2 strikes now to Bohr. Bohr 1 for 4 last night, 6 for 18 with 2 home runs and 4 RBIs this year against the Braves. This is way outside, and it's a walk.
Let's go ahead and get you the Braves defensively. This afternoon's ball game. Cunha makes the start in left, Inciarte in center, Markakis over in right, Camargo, Swanson, Culberson, and Freeman. Flowers behind the plate. He's really the only change from last night's ball game. Toronto on the mound. And a pretty nice catching duo between Flowers and Suzuki. A couple of veteran catchers who split the time.
Flowers very good numbers against lefties, so the day game after a night game sort of thing all works out well for him today to get the start as Castro offers at the first pitch. Hits one in the air, right center field. There will be room for Inciarte a step or 2 onto the track for the second out. Yeah, if it's got any air underneath it from gap to gap, the likelihood of Inciarte tracking it down is very high. That fairly routine, but just the point should be made as he did last night. Made a couple of nice plays. One to his right, one to his left. There's Martin Prado. 1 for 4 last night. He was 15 for 45 since coming off the disabled list. Hey! Inside, a ball and a strike. Two-run home run for JT Realmuto. The difference early. As Prado swings and misses. 6 for 31 this year, 4 walks against the Braves. It's the team that he came up with, spent 7 years of his career with Atlanta. A few hops to Culberson at second. And that'll do it for the Marlins in the first, but JT with a home run to left center field. His 13th on the year makes it 2-0.
Marlins a 2-0 lead. We have got an awesome night coming up for you on Thursday. It is our annual fantasy auction, so to get ready for it, we're using the hashtag #BaseballFantasy for today's Twitter and email Tuesday. What is your ultimate baseball fantasy? Share it with us. Send those emails to foxmarlins@gmail.com. Your tweets can go to @FoxMarlins. Don't forget to use that hashtag #BaseballFantasy. And for all of the information that you need, go to marlins.com/fantasy. But Holly, I know you can give us some details about one of the prize packs that people can bid on.
Well, that would be the one that I'm involved in. That would be the golf pack. It's a fantastic one. You get to play golf with me a little later in the season. And part of it, go to Top Golf. Hold on a second here. I'm working on it. Top Golf experience for 4. To hang out with a couple of Marlins as well. VIP experience at the Honda Classic. 2 tickets for select day to the 2019 Honda Classic. Golf outing with me at Crandon Key, Biscayne. You also get another foursome, the Deering Bay Yacht and Country Club. I'll tell you what, I was filing through some of these, Paul, and it is an impressive list. A dinner with alumni on the Diamond, Hall of Fame experience. Be a player for a day. I mean, all sorts of great things.
3-1 pitch to Tyler Flowers down the right field line, and that one slices into the seats. Over by the campers. Hey. Yeah, the camp counselor.
Over by the campers?
Yeah, the campers. Those campers.
Wait a minute.
The ones over there.
Any foul balls
or,
by
no,
campers?
There. No, right there. They're up there on the left.
This is like the opening ceremonies at the Olympic Games.
It really
today.
is. Absolutely is. A called strike 3 for Chen. His second strikeout of the afternoon. Well, there is also another one here. I just saw my name pop up, which is fantastic. No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
You didn't know you were in here,
did you?
No.
Why would they tell me? The Fox Sports Florida Broadcasters Experience. So you get a catered suite for 16 people.
Oh, yeah.
The suite, visit an on-air interview with Craig Minervini or Jessica Blaylock. We haven't decided yet. You get to come up to the booth to see us. You'll meet Jimmy, the brains behind the operation.
Silent partner. There he is.
So there's a lot of different things. You also get to meet the radio broadcast team, Glenn Geffner and Hall of Famer Dave Van Horn.
You show your respect to DVH, but that Geff character, I'll tell you what.
Yeah. That's the Fox suite right now. Yeah, looking forward to it. Be my first fantasy auction. Glad to be able to keep the tradition rolling. Looking forward to it. Thursday night. Johan Camargo with a drive out to left field. Dietrich is back, and that one is gone. Camargo does it again. He has been the Braves' best run producer since the beginning of June. 2-1.
Well, speaking of silent partner, right? I think we feel like at times he's the silent partner, right? I kind of threw that question at you last night. Almost like it was a trick question, because I think we all, it's got to be Freddie Freeman, it's got to be Markakis. You can go in a lot of different directions. Well, Camargo is putting together a pretty nice run over the last 6 weeks. He really has become their answer at third base. 92-mile-an-hour fastball turned around.
Ciarte bunts it foul, 0-1. Camargo's 10th home of the season and 28th RBI since the beginning of June. Oh, 1-2 Inciarte, a little high, 1-1. popped up left side. Prado waves everybody off, and will make the catch for the second out.
Tomolo Suave, Miami, join the Marlins and Rebeli Family Wines on Friday, July 27th for the Marlins' first wine event of the season. With the purchase of a ticket package, you'll receive a flight of Rebeli wine with food pairing for each sample for just $30. Visit marlins.com/wine today.
There's Dansby Swanson, who takes a strike at the bottom part of the zone, 0-1. Swanson with a home run in yesterday's ball game. 3 for 12 on this road trip for the Braves. That started in Washington. Rain shortened. They split a 2-game set with the Nationals. Camargo's home run today has cut the deficit in half. Chen into the wind. And misses outside, 2-1.
Good changeup by Chen. Four-seam fastball, slider, change, and curve. Very balanced attack.
Two and two, misses a little low. The count is full with 2 outs. Payoff pitch on the way to Swanson. Fouls it straight back, and he will see another. It was a situation last time out for Chen where he kind of settled in. There was some high exit velocities early against the Phillies. Much more soft contact late. Ended up registering a season high 8 strikeouts. In fact, it was his most strikeouts since May 11th of 2016. So hoping to build on that this afternoon. Waiting for the big hop is Prado. And that will do it. But a Camargo home run makes it 2-1. Second inning, we'll get our first Marlins look at Magneuris Sierra. A little bit more about this youngster. Of course, came over from the St. Louis Cardinals in the trade for Marcell Ozuna along with Sandy Alcantara. Couple of, or a stint, I should say, in the big leagues. 22 games, hit .317 and called up today with Garrett Cooper going on the disabled list. With that wrist injury, the same wrist that hampered him earlier this year. So Sierra gets a chance. He'll bat after JT Riddle and before Wei-Yin Chen against Julio Teheran here in the second. Riddle takes a called strike.
Tell you what, there's a little room that outside corner. My goodness.
Riddle last night came in as a pinch hitter, 0 for 1, also drew a walk. This one sent out to center field. Enciarte chasing it down to make the catch and slams into the wall. Boy, I tell you, it's fun to watch, but it's equally as frustrating, isn't it?
Enough already. My goodness, we get it. Gold glove. All right, there you got 2. You're working on 3. We said it early. I think we mentioned it both yesterday. It's like any ball in the air that's not leaving is going to get caught by this guy. Enciarte all over it again. Great read, great line, and that was not an easy one.
So the Marlins debut of Magneuris Sierra. He takes a called strike.
Well, if you're a Marlins fan, you saw him last year. He was wearing a St. Louis Cardinals uniform, and when he came to Marlins Park, quite a show. 5 for 11. 6 runs, couple walks. He was on base 7 times that series in May. It's actually his 2nd, 3rd, and 4th big league games. He left many of us walking out asking the question, who is this young Sierra? It was an impressive display. A couple extra base hits, drove in a few runs.
And he will be called out on a swing. And Doug Eddings, the home plate umpire, refusing to check with the third base umpire, Mark Rippinger. He says it wasn't even close.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, 12 o'clock start times, people cranky.
Let's see. Let's be the judge.
I'm not going to go anywhere with that other than it's a 12 o'clock start time. I think I'm right on that one. Just the reaction to.
Well, how about this? He was right. It wasn't even close.
Well, you know where I'm going. Maybe it's all the colors in the stands. I don't know.
That was easy.
Well, it's just, you know, it's the tone, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now Chen goes down on strikes, and we are through 2. 2-1.
Hey guys, the theme of our Twitter and email Tuesday is the hashtag baseball fantasy. We got a great tweet from Jonathan who said his baseball fantasy was to see a game at Marlins Park, and well, today that dream is coming true. By the way, he traveled all the way from England just to be here. That's Jonathan and his dad Graham, who also made the trip. How cool is that? He's getting to make his baseball fantasy come true. Don't forget to keep sending in those tweets at Fox Marlins. Your emails can go to foxmarlins@gmail.com and use that hashtag baseball fantasy. Guys,
very good, thanks. We get emails from them every week. He's
fantastic
from England, and Craig's going to talk to him this weekend.
Well, it's one of my favorite countries to visit all the time, and it's good to see it's it's felt in both directions.
That's right.
I always love it. I went over in November. Mars and I had just an absolute blast in London for a good week, and I always appreciate when people come over and they enjoy our sport.
Yeah.
Their sport is soccer. Baseball not as big. It's somewhat surprising to see somebody from England and baseball being their passion.
It is growing.
It is a little bit
growing
slowly.
In fact, Great Britain was in the qualifier for the World Baseball Classic a couple of falls ago in Brooklyn. Very athletic club. Tehran shows bunt, pulls it back, 2 balls and no strikes. 9-1-2 due up for the Braves here in the third. Tehran, then Acuna Jr. and Charlie Culberson. Skips out of the way of that one. 3-0. Of course, the World Baseball Classic proper, I guess you could call it, the actual tournament itself, was played here last time around. The qualifiers were all over the place, and it is interesting to see. Certainly there are the more advanced nations in baseball, the Dominican Republics, the Japans, of course the USAs, Colombia, Venezuela, it seems like that. But Great Britain had a team. Germany had a team. I actually called the games in Mexicali. Czech Republic. I mean, it is certainly growing. That's the beauty of the World Baseball Classic.
International flavor.
Yeah. As Tehran draws the leadoff walk here in the third.
Hey Marlins fans, now you can stream games live on your mobile device with Fox Sports Go, presented by Coors Light. Download the app and take Fox Sports Florida and Marlins baseball wherever you go. Well, I'll tell you what, certainly did not want to walk Tehran leading back to the top of this lineup. We talked about it in the open. Acuna, Culberson, Freeman, Markakis, all swinging very hot bats.
Strike 2, Acuna Jr., who grounded out in the first inning. But as we mentioned yesterday, we mentioned it again today, Ozzie Albies a little bit banged up. Don't figure to see him in this series. The Braves have tomorrow off. In all likelihood, he'll be back for Atlanta after their day off tomorrow. Then they've got the Los Angeles Dodgers in town. So, Acuna Jr. in the top spot and has been very productive there. Takes a low, 2-1. First times in his career that he's hit in the leadoff spot. 8 for 13, a home run, 2 steals, getting on base nearly 70% of the time. Small sample size, I understand, but figuring out another weapon to set the table for the Braves.
Right. It was funny, early in my career, I would say about the second or third year in Los Angeles, I got a little bit of this, and boy, I'll tell you, I think I did something quite similar. Maybe not to the 8 to 13, but loved hitting leadoff, because all of a sudden you're like, boy, these leadoff hitters get a lot of fastballs.
Yeah.
Acuna, no doubt, taking full advantage of that. Nobody wants to walk anybody in front of Freeman and Marquez. Vegas right now, or really all season long, for crying out loud.
Incredible raw skills for Acuna Jr. It's a 2-2 pitch.
That was close. Trying to get that slider back to the corner. Just missed.
Lined and caught. Riddle with the throw to first, and they'll double up Tehran. Tehran wasn't off on the pitch, kind of took a bluff step on the 3-2, but maybe just had his momentum going towards second. And it's a double play.
Yeah, I'm not sure it was the best read by Tehran. This right at JT Riddle. Reactionary time not particularly good. Just a couple of hard steps towards second. Just kind of looked like somebody who hasn't run the bases very often.
2 outs for Culberson, who takes low. Culberson with the ground ball to Riddle back in the first inning. They check it first. Joe West says no swing. 4 for 6 last night. 9 for 16 now. Culberson coming out of the break.
Well, I think for the Atlanta Braves, I mean, this is what you love. This is what utility players are supposed to do. You know, Albies goes down, and you say, all right, Charlie, you got to go in. Right hamstring. Albies is going to be down for a few days, and you get 9 hits from his backup.
Well, I talked to the TV voice of the Braves, Chip Carey, yesterday, and really, to me, it's just a very high compliment of Culberson. He said, you know what he is? He's just a baseball player. You know, it sounds simple, but those kind of in the world know that that's a compliment. That he just goes out there, he's just going to grind, he's going to do what you ask of him. You know, is he going to turn out to be a superstar? Who knows? But every team needs him. Marlins have a couple of those guys for sure. For right now, with Albies on the shelf, you don't miss that production for a few days with Culberson. They'll miss it in this at-bat as he strikes out. That's 3 Ks through 3 innings for Chen. He's got a 2-1 lead.
Go to the bottom of the 3rd inning. You guys are mentioning the worldly nature of baseball, and certainly that has been the story in the country of Colombia, South America's third largest country. But over the years, not too many major league players. But Julio Teheran, of course, one of the most famous from Colombia. Edgar Renteria of Marlins fame, of course, now Teheran Guerrero, the Solano brothers, but only 20 overall from the entire country. But things are changing. Longtime baseball scout Mike Toomey traveled there in 2005. Some executives around baseball thought he was crazy, wasting his time, but they're developing Colombian baseball camps there to teach the game and lessons in life, and players are turning out one after another. In fact, Toomey said that occasionally he'd have to travel by mule to find a player or two. You got to be stubborn, guys, to find some talent. But it's changing, and we're seeing it in baseball with all the political strife in Venezuela as well. It's become a more important baseball locale, the beautiful country of Colombia.
Yeah, Craig, thank you so much. And again, to go back to the World Baseball Classic, again, we've seen, what now, 4 tournaments. Japan's won 3 of them. The USA's won 1. But the growth of the game through that tournament has really gone a long way. I mean, so many guys that you see when this tournament goes on that eventually make it to the major leagues, or the 1 or 2 guys that break through for a country that then bring it back, you know, for the next tournament. The growth of the game worldwide is certainly something that I know the game itself, Commissioner Rob Manfred, very happy with. As Brian Anderson bats with 1 on and nobody out here in the 3rd.
Anderson, a base hit to right his first time up. Around to score on the JT Realmuto 2-run home run in the 1st inning. Marlins would certainly love to get something going this second time through the lineup against Teheran.
Another check on Dietrich. Well, for Teheran, this is his 20th start of the season. So that's at least 20 starts in the season for 6 consecutive years. There's 178 total starts in that span, 4th most in the major leagues. Ball and the 1 strike to Brian Anderson, who singled in the 1st. And another multi-hit effort for Anderson. And it gets by Enciarte. To 3rd goes Dietrich. He's being waved around. Throw from center goes to 3rd. And that one gets away, but Teheran backing up. Now, we've talked about the balls that have a little bit of air underneath them that Enciarte is going to get to it. This one on the ground, so sure-handed, but kind of wiggled a little bit on him.
I'll tell you what, I think Enciarte peaked early. Outfielders can do this. Ball's coming. You've done this so many times in your career. You start to watch the base runner, and that's exactly what he did. He starts to see what Dietrich's thinking about doing. He's not looking down any longer. He's actually looking forward. Look at those eyes back towards the infield. He's not watching the ball go in the glove. It's going to cost the Braves a run. Anderson all the way to 3rd base. It's a huge error. I'll tell you what, Paul, a lot of times that's brought on by aggressive turns and aggressive base running. Even the vibe will get an outfielder every now and again. You make those strong breaks around 2nd base, it puts an outfielder on point. So you see Dietrich, that's exactly what you want. Well done by Double D. I'll tell you, that is how you can almost create an error. I love talking about stuff like this because it's forcing the action. All right, Dietrich, you think, all right, this is a base hit to center field, just make it to 2nd base. No. His aggressiveness into second base forces Inciarte to raise his head up, causing the error. This is all brought on by great base running. As simple as we think it is, you do it enough times, you catch that one.
JT out to left. Acuna Jr. with it. Tagging from third is Anderson. The throw is a little off the mark. A sac fly for Real Muto. And a 4-1 lead for the Marlins. RBI afternoon to this point for JT. Anderson, after the single and two-base error, comes in to score on the sac fly, and it's a 3-run cushion.
You learn a lesson there as a young outfielder. You are the last line of defense. If it gets by you, boy oh boy, the floodgates seem to open, don't they?
Justin Bohr will walk back in the first inning. Will take high and away for ball one. Now, I don't want this to sound like I'm making an excuse for Inciarte. It's just more of a kind of how things work. It almost looked like we hear the term snake a lot, where it's almost like a hitter doesn't see the ball where it's at. He's almost anticipating where the ball will be. And maybe he looked up thinking this is where the ball is going to be, and then just the way that the grass is cut sometimes, and I know you can speak to this, the ball will snake on its way to an outfield.
Well, it certainly can happen. I really just think it was more applied by, you know, Dietrich's aggressive turnaround second base. You're absolutely right. We see it all the time. But again, any good outfielder, and certainly Inciarte is one of them, knows that under all circumstances, you got to field the ball first. And you're right, you can. And it's why I kind of mentioned it the way that I did. You take 1,000 ground balls a year. Sometimes you do something much like riding a bike. You just assume that the ball's going to go right into your glove, and it only takes, you know, a little bit of a turn. That ball's getting by you. Take another look. You see that head. It's almost like, you know, you see out in front, and it's the last 4 feet where you're like, okay, I got to look it into the glove. You assume it's already there, and he misses it. He was as surprised as anybody. In fact, he looked back in his glove.
Well, fortunately for the Marlins, the Braves give them an inch, and to this point, they take a mile. 2 runs in here in the third. They've opened up a 4-1 lead. And after the second walk of the afternoon for Tehran, and both to Justin Bohr, that'll bring up Starlin Castro. Castro with a fly ball out to Inciarte in the first. Takes a little low. Ball, no strikes. So a little bit of breathing room now for Wei-Yin Chen. 3-run lead at least. He toes the slab again in the top of the fourth. 2-0 to Castro, who has 61 hits at home this year. Second in the National League to Nolan Arenado, who's got 64 at Coors Field. Speaking of hits, Castro with the most among second basemen in the National League. One clear of Ozzie Albies. This one chopped to short. Swanson to Culberson to Freeman. And the inning is over. 2 more for the Marlins. They open up a 4-1 lead. Right at the top with the Braves and the Phillies. Just, separated by mere percentage point. Atlanta with a .557 win percentage. Philadelphia at .556. So even atop with the Nationals 6 back. Marlins ahead of the Mets for fourth place in the National League East. Now, how this all shakes out, only time will tell, but should be fun to watch.
Well, and if you're looking for some bit of evidence, how about the Braves are 29-15 in the division this year? The only team in this division with a winning record against the division. And it's much improved. You know, when you think back to last year, we talk about timing with the Braves, right? So last year, 33-43 against the National League East. This year, they're 14 games over. That's a 24-game swing. It's probably the thing they've done the best. You talk about their lineup, multi-hit games, athleticism, home runs, even young pitchers if you want. But the point is, the Atlanta Braves are handling the most important thing, which I talk about all the time, because you play half your games inside the division. You got the best record, and you're out in front of everybody by as much as they are.
Yeah.
Hard to believe that it's going to stop. I mean, there's not really a whole lot of evidence. They are certainly tied with the Phillies.
Lined out to right, and it's Anderson to make the catch. What a play by Brian Anderson. A diving play to take a hit away from Freddie Freeman.
You remember one time earlier this season when he was playing third base? I don't. I tell you, Brian Anderson is making the transition to right field. I think it's fair to say, I'm going to go ahead and say it, he's a right fielder who happens to be able to play third base. It's been so impressive to watch him. Great jump, great route. Stays underneath the sinking liner. Picked up an outfield assist yesterday. Marlins fans, he is leading the National League right fielders in outfield assists.
Yeah, over these next few days, of course, now we'll see Acuna Jr. Nationals come into town for 4 over the weekend. We'll see Juan Soto, 2 guys that are certainly mentioned an awful lot when it comes to Rookie of the Year, but Brian Anderson's been there literally every day for the Marlins this year. Time for the Toyota inside look to circle it back to Atlanta. The first time that they're in first place after the All-Star break since 2014. And today is their 61st day in first place this season. Last 2 years, not one. And we talked last time we had the Phillies in town just before the break about their improvement from last year at the calendar date a week or so ago to now, and how they've improved. And we've just kind of seen, I want to say it's a changing of the guard, because I think the Nationals still, especially with the trade deadline about a week away, may make some changes to get back in the race. They're only 6 out, but it's not like the Nationals are clinching the division.
The Nationals have opened up the door. I mean, I guess that's kind of that's what I feel. Again, it's merely my opinion. Other people may say different things, and I know Braves fans are happy with what the Braves have done. Phillies fans would say the same thing. Really, my point is this. The Braves have kind of opened up that door, a door that has been closed, and this is a division that has been theirs for a number of years. The Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies are doing their best to continue to push that door open now that the handle's been released, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Flowers draws the 2-out walk. 1 on and 2 out here in the 4th.
Well, the Marlins have turned Mr. 305 into a bobblehead. It's your exclusive Pitbull Bobble presented by Del Toro when the Marlins take on the Nationals on Sunday. Purchase your tickets at marlins.com/giveaways.
Johan Camargo offers it the first pitch, rolls one out to Prado, who goes the short way, and Chen is through 4. But Brian Anderson, who leads all National League right fielders in defensive runs saved, makes another stellar play. On Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. The Cleveland Clinic. And by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Bottom of the fourth inning on the way. It's turned into a nice afternoon here in Miami. The late part of the morning has been filled with rain. Bad storms. Couldn't even see the skyline through the windows beyond the left field wall just before the kids started piling in, but now the skyline is back. The city has returned through the raindrops. Martin Prado takes a strike. Prado, JT Riddle, and Magneuris Sierra against Julio Teheran here in the fourth inning. 2 runs in the first, 2 runs in the third for Miami. And 3 RBIs from JT Realmuto. The 2-run homer in the first inning, the sac fly. He was 0 for 8 the last 2 days, but has certainly made an impact in the early part of this ball game as the Marlins try to get a split of this short 2-game series. 2-2. And the last time out for Teheran, 4 hits, 3 walks, 6 1/3 scoreless innings against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And it was his 6th scoreless start of at least 6 innings this year. Dribbler in front of the mound, spinning and throwing his flowers for the first out.
Are you ready for storm season? We are. See how you can prepare at fpl.com/storm.
Bring up JT Riddle with 1 away in the first inning, in the fourth inning, right? So to finish that thought on Teheran, 6th scoreless effort of at least 6 innings, and no more than 4 hits on the season, the most such starts in the major leagues. And by giving up the 4 runs today, he cannot get a quality start, but he was coming into this series tied with last night's starter Sean Newcomb with 11 quality starts to lead the staff. That's a quality play up the middle. Although Swanson was right behind him, but it's Teheran to make the play. 2 down in the fourth. 2-game series here, a day off tomorrow, and then back at it for a 4-game set against the Washington Nationals. South Florida Honda dealers present the Marlins Live pregame show. Craig Minervini and Gabby Sanchez out in center field. Steven Strasburg and Dan Straley, the 2 starting pitchers. Magneuris Sierra fouls one off.
I'll tell you what, Paul, excited for the second half for the Marlins. They have a huge opportunity to affect this divisional race. So many of their games here, final 2 months of the season, are going to be against the Nationals and the Phillies and the Braves, and it's up and down the coast. It's here at Marlins Park. It's on the road.
Sierra retired on the ground ball. We are through 4 innings. It's a 4-1 Marlins lead.
Night, here's Pablo Lopez with more details.
Join the Marlins Foundation and Fox Sports Florida for the 13th annual fantasy auction, powered by South Florida Ford. Mark your calendar for July 26 for an opportunity to bid on autographed memorabilia and unique experiences. For more info, visit marlins.com/fantasy.
And guys, there are some incredible prizes that you can bid on. How about a trip to Punta Cana, Mexico? You can become a Marlins player for the day. Holly, you already mentioned that golf package that people can bid on, becoming a broadcaster for the day. This is really going to be an incredible year for our fantasy auction.
What about lunch with Blaylock?
Oh, yeah.
How come you didn't mention that one?
Lunch with Blaylock in Boston at a great Italian restaurant in the North End. Bid on that one. We are going to have so much fun. I cannot overhype it enough.
So the winner gets to have lunch with you?
That's the ultimate prize, my friend.
The winner?
I see what you're doing here, Severino.
Thanks, yeah. No, that's all part of the road trip with the Marlins package. And Jessica, thank you so much. Round trip airfare for 2, a 4-night stay in a hotel for 2 at Hotel Commonwealth. 2 tickets to the Marlins Red Sox game on Tuesday and Wednesday, August 28th and 29th. A base hit for Inciarte into left field to lead things off in the 5th. And then, lunch with Jessica Blaylock. Oh, 2 Marlins jerseys, all part of that package, too. And a Mike Lowell autographed baseball. I mean, the list just in that package alone goes on and on. Terrific stuff. Marlins.com/fantasy.
A base hit to start the top of the 5th inning. Inciarte on at first. Bring up Hansby Swanson, ground out victim, first time up.
Swanson gets under one, out to Sierra in center field for the first out here in the 5th. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Miami Marlins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. One on, one out in the 5th.
I'll tell you what, Paul, watching Chen start today, it's been so impressive. I mean, one thing that stands out when he struggles, and of course a lot of this is, kind of on the road. It's Tehran in a bunting situation, we think. Gets it down. Chen will take the sure out at first. And one thing that I've really been picking up on in a few of his starts here at home is his ability to use his secondary pitches much more effectively against the right-handed hitters. If you were to break his numbers down, well, I'll just be honest, they're absolutely awful against the righties outside of Marlins Park. A lot more damage, and the secondary pitches are just getting knocked around, many of them getting hit for home runs. But here at Marlins Park, he seems to have found a really strong lane, that outside corner, that 3-box, low in the zone, at the knees, away. He gets his slider and his changeup into that slot really well, and we see a number of outs, particularly against the right-handed hitters, where they're fooled by the lack of velocity. Even Swanson went after it. He's gone after it now twice in the ballgame. I've got 5 outs in that one spot of the strike zone. We continue to see him kind of hunt it, especially late in at bats, and he gets a lot of rollovers against the right-handed hitters.
Well, if you're looking for an explanation from Chen as to why the home road splits are, well, historically drastic, at least in the first half, his response after his last start, which was home and which was sharp against the Phillies, despite a Phillies win, he said, "I really can't explain it." but he did say, "This is a place I'm familiar with. Maybe it's the weather, the environment, the ballpark. I feel like I can control my stuff more than I want to. Maybe on the road I'm trying too hard, whatever the reason is. There seems to be stuff I'm trying to control, but I haven't been able to on the road." So, yeah, I mean, if a guy has a 4 ERA on the road and a 2 ERA at home, you're like,
a little something there,
but
something, nothing. You're right. I mean, not to the point where we just basically, I put together a scouting report dismissive of half of his starts.
What is it, 8.5 runs difference?
Absolutely. He's over 10 on the road. I mean, it's like the batting average against him. It almost makes you laugh. When I tell you that hitters are hitting 202 against him at home and 359 on the road, I mean, what is he, pitching on the moon?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. The flights don't seem that long. The Florida Lottery in-game jackpot.
Well, it's to the point where you kid, but I mean, it's almost like, is there some way to manipulate the schedule so that he only pitches at Marlins Park?
A walk to Acuna, 2 on for Culberson, 2 outs here in the 5th inning. Yeah, I mentioned it before. I mean, they're going into the break. You have the 4-day respite for the All-Star break, so the Marlins were able to kind of finagle their starting rotation a little bit. They started with the 3-game set in St. Pete, so Don Mattingly and the coaching staff able to make sure that Chen pitches here at home as Juan Nieves goes out to talk with the Marlins starting pitcher. They'll have a day off and 4 games against the Nationals. So on regular rest, if nobody else is in the rotation, his day would come up again on Sunday. Now, if plans change, and maybe they will, I have no inside information that they would, he could feasibly pitch again on Sunday, but Don Mattingly was asked that a couple of days ago. All right, so Chen's going in a couple of days, meaning today. He would come around again on Sunday, and he thought to skipping someone. And at the time, the answer was no. They don't want to manipulate it too much. But again, you look at those numbers, and again, it's not like it's one bad start that kind of skews the numbers.
Well, you're also not getting over the long-term issue, and now's the time to figure out some of those long-term issues. I mean, that's kind of the point, is that Chen needs to figure out what in the world's going on the road and get over it.
Strike to Culberson. Well, home or road, this is also the part in the order, or at least the part in the game, that has been an issue for Chen. That 3rd time through the lineup. Hitters hitting .221 the first time, .295 the second time, .400 the third time through. Culberson takes low, a ball and a strike.
Now it also coincides with the story that we've been following since the Marlins and Braves started playing each other here in 2018. 2-out opportunities. We'll see what's developed now. Leadoff single to Inciarte, a couple of outs. Walk to Acuna, and get a runner in scoring position again with 2 outs. This is what the Braves have done to the Marlins all season.
Culberson, left field, long run for Dietrich. He's not going to get there. Played on a couple of hops. Inciarte in to score. Here comes Acuna after him. It's a 2 RBI double for Culberson, who stays hot for the Braves, and we've got ourselves a 1-run game.
Now this slider stays up. Inner third. He didn't crush it. Did get in on his bat. That's why you see it check up just a little bit. Dietrich had to kind of reroute there at the last second. His throw in. A little arm side tail to it. Kind of got away from JT, so really no play at the plate on Acuna, who's able to score from first base. Back to a 1-run ball game. Culberson, third double of the series.
Now Freddie Freeman, lined and caught by Riddle, who was played up the middle. 3 on the right side of the infield for the Marlins. They had him scouted perfectly, but it's 4-3. Here at Marlins Park, enjoying a good one. Camp from all around South Florida, enjoying some afternoon baseball. Time for This Day in Marlins History, presented to you by Geico. Gary Sheffield ties a club record with 5 hits. He had a home run, 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored in a 6-2 win over the Rockies in 1994, each franchise's 2nd season. Wei-Yin Chen to lead things off for the Marlins. Swings at the first pitch, sends it toward the gap in left center field. That one's going to get down and roll for a while, all the way to the wall. Chen will hold up at second base. All right, not bad at all. His 4th hit of the year and first double of his career, in fact.
You know, it's pretty funny. I was watching him take batting practice a couple of days ago, and I actually thought to myself, you know, Chen's swing is improving. He's actually been working at this, and there you go. Rockets went into that left center field gap. Inciarte really no shot, wasn't expecting it. Nobody was. Not even sure Chen was. 100 miles an hour off the bat. Didn't know he had it in him.
Funny game, baseball, isn't it? It's going to be a productive out as Dietrich moves Chen to third. So here's Brian Anderson. 2 singles, 2 runs scored in the first and in the third.
Yeah, real nice approach on both of them. Base hit to center field, base hit to right. Anticipate him looking to stay inside the baseball once again. The Braves are going to bring the infield in. You already know Brian Anderson has been one of the best this season, the runner in scoring position in all of Major League Baseball.
That one got a piece of Anderson to first and third. Let's check in with Craig.
You guys are talking about the resiliency. The Marlins have played 13 games now where they have lost by giving up 10 or more runs in a ball game, and in the 12 previous, they're 6-6 in the next game, so it hasn't gone on to a big slump. And 3 of the losses by 1 run, and that's a good thing, whether it's a young team or just confidence or case of amnesia. We've seen it all year long, guys. Just because they lose at 20-1, they come back and win the next night, and the score really is meaningless because a loss is a loss. So that's a good sign for this ball club, leading here again after giving up 10+ last night.
You're absolutely right. And the other thing too, I mean, you have to go through each one of the games to see, but it seems like they answer back quickly. And after the rough loss last night, that's exactly what they did. The man in the box, JT Realmuto, with a 2-run home run in the first inning, added a sac fly in the third, and now a chance to add some more insurance here.
Yeah, that's right, 3 RBIs in the game already. Well, it's 4 runs.
First and third. Chen is over at third after the leadoff double, and Anderson, after the hit by pitch, is at first.
JT Realmuto at the top. Pretty impressive list. You realize how big a part he is of this Marlins offense. He is #1 in all of baseball. Now get this, with an OPS of 1,206. That's coming into today. Of course, he's already homered in Marlins wins. Now when they lose, OPS 582. That is the biggest difference, a difference of 624 points. Talking about impacting your team.
And the count, 3 balls and no strikes with Justin Bour on deck. Here it comes from Tehran. Chop to short. They'll come home with it, and in there safely is Chen. The throw from Swanson took Flowers a little bit up the first base line, so he had to reach back.
Make sure he's safe first. Safe.
Yeah, I would venture to guess that the call on the field, which was safe, might be, one more look here, might be too hard to overturn. Again, you've got to overturn the call on the field.
Call on the field was safe. You see it right there.
So the home plate umpire Doug Eddings and the crew chief Joe West are on the headsets with the replay officials in New York.
I'll tell you what, the Atlanta Braves, Dansby Swanson took a real risk on this play. Again, a slow roller to the right side. Ball was not hit hard, so really no chance at turning two. He reroutes and decides to come home. And they got him a safe. I love it. All right, let's watch this again in full speed, and you can almost see how this play kind of processes out just a bit. See what Swanson's thinking. Now, he's back there at double play depth, but he's got to charge the ball. Chen's coming home. That's not 100 miles an hour, but he's moving pretty good. No slide. Able to just barely beat him. And the idea was that the Atlanta Braves were playing for two until they realized they had Chen running. So Swanson kind of, I think in seeing the play, obviously makes the mistake. A throw to the other side of the plate probably gets Chen. But again, a lot was put on that execution because he decided to come home.
Here's Justin Bohr. They get a check on Anderson at second. It's a 4 RBI day for JT Realmuto. 9th time in his career he's driven in at least 4.
Well, it's such an interesting dynamic because originally the Atlanta Braves were going to, they were bringing the guys in and then pushing them back, based on the situation.
And a base hit up the middle for Bohr. Anderson being waved around. Inciarte thought about it. He'll throw it in. And it is an RBI for Bohr. Anderson scores easily, now 6-3 Marlins.
Well, after a couple of walks this afternoon for the big guy, JB, it's a two-seam fastball, thigh high, outer third. He loves to get those arms extended. He certainly does here. A rocket into center field is going to produce another run for the Marlins.
Well, it was the Braves scoring runs in pairs last night. Today, it is the Marlins. 2 in the first, 2 in the third, 2 so far here in the 5th. Pitching coach Chuck Hernandez out to talk with Julio Teheran, maybe buy a little time for the Atlanta Braves bullpen as Sam Freeman, the lefty, is up. 2 on and 1 out now for Starlin Castro. Well, it's only the 5th inning. JT with 4 RBIs, his career mark 6 RBIs in a game in August of 2015 against the Red Sox. So maybe a little bit of time to challenge that career mark. The 0-1 to Castro. Strike 2. StatCast, powered by AWS, the distribution of ground balls in play on the infield off the bat of Starlin Castro. Wearing out that lane toward short. This one down the left field line. Acuna is back, and that is gone. A 3-run home run for Starlin Castro. The Marlins blow it open against the Braves.
Times this season have we seen Starlin Castro take velocity or a hanging pitch at the top of the zone and do something big with it? Even down 2 strikes. Starlin Castro took a letter-high pitch. So amazing to me is really the fact that we continue to see catchers try to get Starlin Castro up in the zone. That 91-mile-an-hour fastball above the strike zone. I remind everybody, I think back to the base hit against Doolittle. It was a couple weeks ago in Washington, right? Sean Doolittle known for going up in the zone at 95 to 97 miles an hour. lined it back over his head. My goodness.
Florida Lottery call to the bullpen on the way. Marlins in front. Lead. The new Monopoly jackpot scratch-offs from the Florida Lottery are a new spin on a classic. They're loaded with prizes from $10,000 to $2 million. So unleash the excitement anytime. The Florida Lottery, it's your ticket. Must be 18 or older to play. Play responsibly. Sam Freeman in out of the bullpen for the Braves after 4 1/3, 7 hits, 9 runs, 7 of them earned against Julio Teheran. His first pitch to Prado is a strike. 47th game of the season for Freeman. ERA over 5 out of the pen for the Braves. That ERA has risen thanks in part to his last 22 appearances, where he's given up 15 earned runs in 18 1/3 innings. 1-1 to Prado. A strike. Well, kind of a steady attack today against Teheran. 2 in the first, 2 in the third, and 5 in the fifth. Prado left side, knocked down by Swanson, but it'll go down as a base hit for Martin. The 8th hit of the day for Miami.
Tonight, American military personnel serving overseas are watching this game on AFN, the American Forces Network. Welcome to those in countries around the world, aboard naval ships at seas, and thank you for service.
Chop to second, the flip to Swanson. And Riddle grounds into the double play, but the Marlins put a 5 spot on the board thanks in part to a 3-run home run from Starlin. 9-3. Aaron's brother, Aaron of the Phillies, of course, has a 6-game hit streak going, 7 for 21. The 5th round pick of the Marlins out of LSU, just like his brother. In 2012, Austin was taken by the Marlins. The Baby Cakes off yesterday, back in action today. A 3-game home series against the Reno Aces. So we'll see if Austin can stretch it to a 7-game hit streak. Look at that. A free hat, too. You get a bucket of popcorn, and then you get a lid. It's great. Excellent. Lots of kids in the ballpark today for camp day. Wei and Chen is having a blast as well, up 9-3 in the 6th. Markakis back to the screen. Markakis today is 0 for 3. He's had an 11-game hit streak going. A season-long 12-game hit streak earlier this year. Outside, a ball and 2 strikes. As I mentioned last night, he's been up to as many as a 19-game hit streak back in 2011 when he was with the Baltimore Orioles. An 18-game hit streak in 2014 with the Orioles. 2 17-game hit streaks. This one chopped to Castro. And Markakis is retired. Of course, all that adds up to well over 2,100 hits for Markakis. But he's retired to begin the 6th. Kind of right on par, Wei Yin Chen, with his career numbers against the Braves, and even 3 ERA in 6 career starts against Atlanta.
Well, he's done his part this afternoon, kind of cooling this Braves lineup down. Obviously, a pretty impressive output yesterday.
Left field line and in and out of the seats.
Oh goodness, that's some serious ricochet. Well, not only is he contained most of the hitters up and down this lineup, obviously some damage in that 5th inning, but Flowers coming in had really the best numbers against lefties this season. Only 36 at bats, 3 homers, 11 RBIs, and a batting average well above 400 against lefties.
One, 2 to Flowers. This is a little low. Trying to get through the 6th inning again. He's gone 6 innings in 4 of his last 6 starts, 3 of his last 4. A little inside, count is full. So none of the quote-unquote big guys out of the bullpen were used yesterday. An off day tomorrow. If you were Don Mattingly, do you think you, even though it's a 6-run difference, do you think it's treated as a 1-run game? Just in terms of utilizing, you know, who we're used to seeing, the Zieglers, the Conleys, the Stecks, and the
I think
Balls?
so. I think so, unless again, you know, in what's so hard on, you know, the 12 o'clock start time is that there's, you know, a little information, you know, it's kind of passed between the ball club and the media. And so, I mean, you know, unless somebody woke up and has a stiff arm and we don't know about it, but I'm kind of with you. Yeah, I think you would like to see some of them. You know, a couple of things happened in Tampa that would lead you, and I think is actually leading you down that path, even to ask the question. Is that correct?
Yeah. And also the last time
couple of rough outings, a couple of guys you might want to get in the ballgame.
Yeah. Flowers retired for the 2nd out here in the 6th.
Are you ready for storm season? We are. See how you can prepare at fpl.com/storm.
Bobby Guerra, the first arm up. Camargo takes a strike.
I'll tell you what, for Teheran, he's probably sick and tired of the Marlins. Boy, oh boy, they put a licking on him the last 2 times. An offensive approach today. 6 extra base hits now on the season against Teheran. 9 in the 3rd innings, 15 runs. That has led to a 9-run outburst today for the Marlins, a 6-run lead here in the 6th.
Trying to do the math, we'll probably see Teheran on Monday in Atlanta, right? Because they're off tomorrow, so
they're
if they
off as
stay,
well.
They would stay on rotation. Dribbler up the third base side. It's going to be Chen. Been a tough play anyway with Camargo going down the line. Smothered a little bit by Bohr. Imagine they score that as an infield single, but all bookkeeping, I suppose, at this point. 1 on and 2 out in the 6th inning.
Nice job by JV keeping that ball from getting away. Not a great throw by Chen. Yeah, that's a possibility. I kind of agree. I do wonder. I mean, with the last 2 games kind of going the way that they have, you know, you kind of consider anything. Very similar to the situation with Chen, when you agree.
Yeah.
We argue that Chen should be making starts at Marlins Park more often. Even the 3 home runs that Teheran has given up against the Marlins this year have been loud. He's given up a 2-run homer, a 3-run homer, and a grand slam.
The thing with these Braves, and we've seen it in a couple of different ways. I mean, they can score runs just, you know, at the end of the night, they put up a lot of runs, but they can get to it a number of different ways, as they did last night. It was, you know, a couple of runs here, a run there, a couple of runs here, or they can score in bunches. So a 6-run lead, while vast, can evaporate rather quickly. We've seen that firsthand.
No, I think there's been enough scarring over the last couple of seasons against this Braves team that anybody who's lived through this is on point. You're absolutely right. You kind of sense it that way. You don't look at the 6-run lead and say, well, it's a 6-run lead. It feels more like a, you know, maybe a 2 or 3-run lead. It really is how you have to view it. Well, it was this start for Teheran in Atlanta. And the Marlins got to Teheran, knocked him around, had a huge lead, only to see the Braves score 6 runs in the 9th inning of that ball game and walk off the Marlins.
Ball and a strike to Inciarte. Dugout, 1-2. Inciarte today, a hop up to Prado. Single and a run scored in the 5th inning. A nice play ranging back in center field, but also an error on a base hit to him that allowed a run to come around to score. Pitch for Chen will be number 100. A little outside. First time this year that he's in fact gone over 94 pitches, never mind cracking 100. His longest start was 7 1/3 against the Nationals on May 26th. That was his longest start as a Marlin. On a hop to Riddle. Got to him quickly. He's able to make the play, and Chen through 6. It is a 9-3 lead. Marlins on top as we head to the last of the 6th. A nice start from Wei-Yin Chen today, assuming it's over as he's getting some hugs in the dugout, a big smile on his face. He continues to pitch well at home. 6 innings and 3 earned runs. Got some run support today, gave him a little bit of wiggle room. Corners in for Magneuris Sierra, who leads things off against Sam Freeman. It's Sierra, and then it looks like Cameron Maben in the on-deck circle. And the top of the order to Derek Dietrich. Mentioned the fact that Chen cracked the 100 pitch mark for the first time this year. In fact, the 100 pitches the most since June 13th of 2016 against the San Diego Padres. JT talking about both of their productive days. JT with 4 RBIs today. Some early runs on the board for Chen and the Marlins. Chases that one, and Sierra is retired for the first out in the 6th.
Marlins fans, we have a premium giveaway on this Saturday as the Marlins take on the Nationals. One of the first in the gates to pick up your Marlins pullover presented by Ocean Bank. Tickets start at just $15. Visit marlins.com/giveaways to purchase your game tickets today.
A busy weekend against the Nationals. We got the pullover, then we've got the fantasy auction coming up on Thursday. 4-game set with the Nats. As Cameron Maben takes a called strike.
Hit .302 over his last 15 ball games. I'll tell you what, Maben's been getting it done. Couple of hits last night and a walk at the start in center field. 6 for 23 pinch hitting here in the 2018 season.
Yeah, Maben hit his first home run of the season on June 29th. And since then, an OPS of .941.
You can almost see it in Cam's eyes. I'm telling you, It's like he's just waiting for the one mistake so that he can unload. It's always fun to watch a hitter when he gets that way. See it, it's almost like his eyes get bigger as the ball kind of leaves, well, just about any pitcher's hands. That's how confident he is in his stroke right now.
Well, it's an email Twitter Tuesday, and we have some here. Other than first base, why are there no left-handed infielders? Richard asks.
Question. Good pass there, the 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Yeah, well, arm angles, timing. I mean, there's a lot of things. It's probably a deeper answer than we have time for, but the simple answer is just turns. I mean, you know, angle to first base. I mean, everything that you have to do, you have to align your shoulders to throw. For a righty, it's natural to do that, obviously, to first base, to second base. For a lefty, it is not nearly as much.
Well, we don't see it often. The left-handed throwers play elsewhere on the infield, but today is actually the anniversary of the pine tar game. George Brett had too much pine tar on his bat, and the home run was revoked, essentially. So the Royals ended up protesting the game, and in the resumption of that game, Don Mattingly actually played second base for a third of an inning. So yeah, you don't see it very often. He's also wore number 46 that day. In fact, in 1983. 2 years before, Donnie won the MVP in the American League. The year that the skipper won the MVP, he drove in 145 runs. The year he won the MVP. On the strength of a league-leading 15 sac flies. How about that? All right, got another one here. There's 2 outs. I'll hold this one. It's about you talking about how much you love England, so remind me to come back to that. Right.
Dietrich ahead in the count, 3-1. Ireland's comfortable lead here in the bottom of the 6th, 9-3.
Dietrich singled in the 3rd inning, came around to score on the Inciarte error. On what looked to be a pretty pedestrian base hit from Brian Anderson, but it snuck past Inciarte. Dietrich hustled all the way around to score. Grounds one to the right side, knocked down by Culberson, and can't get a grip on it. Dietrich will reach with 2 outs.
I'm guessing that's going to go as a base hit. Which would give Derek his 27th multi-hit game of the season. They're not going to rule that a hit. Well, that ball hard hit, no doubt. The exit velocity kind of ate up Culberson.
So a multi-hit game for Derek Dietrich. Will have to wait. He's had so many of them this year. In fact, a career high. So close to setting a new career high. He's at 26 right now. Anderson with a multi-hit, get right back up the middle. My goodness. Freeman just able to get out of the way of it, and again An aggressive turnaround second for Dietrich as the ball gets hung up. And up to second goes Anderson. The ball got hung up with the third base umpire, Mark Rippinger, but aggressive base running again on a base hit up the middle by Dietrich.
Yeah, this is exactly what you want to see. Great swing by Anderson. Watch out, Freeman. Boy, that's some exit velocity headed back at your head. Certainly don't want to see that, but I'll tell you what, it's a great swing in Dietrich, throttling down once again. I love it. Look at the pressure it does. It pushes on them. That is going to be a hit and another error on Inciarte. This time Inciarte kept his head down, throwing to third. Camargo probably should have secured the throw. I know it's offline just a bit, but there's really no play at third base. That's, as an outfielder, how you get yourself another error. 2 errors in the game on Inciarte, 3 for the Braves this afternoon.
7th 3-hit game of the year for Brian Anderson. And now 2 in scoring position for JT Realmuto, who's got 4 RBIs today, a base hit. May very well tie his career mark.
Well, they have now changed that. It's not going to be an error on Inciarte. They have now changed that to an E5. I think they were listening. Camargo probably should have caught the ball. Throw a little off line, but again, as I said, no play at third base, so Camargo charged with that error.
3 errors today for the Atlanta Braves. Came into this series with the 5th fewest errors in Major League Baseball, but you see what aggressive base running does. It puts pressure on the defense.
Love it. Absolutely love it. That's something that the Marlins, I mean, I would say this to anybody. You do that better, you put pressure on the defense. That's how you apply it. Marlins can get better offensively by continuing to do that. It is a real weapon. Listening, base running is not centered around the fastest guys on the team. It's centered around effort and the desire to actually do it. And one thing that you're picking up on, and the Marlins have done a much better job over the last 2 or 3 weeks of doing this, applying that pressure. We saw it in the Rays series. We've already seen it today. Game number 2 of this series with the Braves.
Fly ball out to Inciarte in right center field. Will put it away. We are through 6 with the Marlins in front by 6.
We the best. Just getting started. Another one. Just getting started. Let's win. Just getting started. Looking at my real in the body and my way. Hands up. Let's go. We the best.
Big afternoon for the Marlins. They lead this one 9-3 as we go to the top of the 7th inning. Brad Ziegler in out of the pen for Miami. They'll face Dansby Swanson, and then it looks like a pinch hitter, Preston Tucker, on deck. And then Ronald Acuna Jr. top of the order. Cameron Maybin stays in the game in left field. Hey! And for Ziegler, in his 50th game this year. Cue shot to Bohr, and he'll flip to Ziegler for the first out. We check in with Jessica Blaylock.
Hey, Paul, JT Realmuto has already been named an all-star this season. Now he can add another accolade to the list. He was named the recipient of the Heart and Hustle Award for the Marlins. It goes to the player that best exemplifies the spirit, the values, the tradition of the game. As far as his coaches and his teammates, they are not at all surprised that JT earned the honors. They say that he is really the pulse, the heartbeat, and the soul of this Marlins team.
Jessica, thanks. Yeah, and certainly a congratulations for JT Realmuto. Another ground ball. This one is Ziegler to Bohr as opposed to Bohr to Ziegler. But either way, they've been together on both of the outs here in the 7th inning. Yeah, that comes as no surprise. I mean, we see JT kind of in the center of it all. The catcher is usually in some form or fashion the leader of the team because he's in with the pitchers and the position players. That's why so many managers are former catchers. But for this team right here, JT, to say that he's the heartbeat, I would totally agree.
It certainly makes sense. He is exactly that. I'll add this. He's really embraced, I don't want to say a new role, but a new clubhouse. And he's done it the right way. Things have changed in his life. His family's growing as well. Congratulations to the Realmutos. Had their first child. I mean, so many things going right in his life, but you can go back to what last year was, even transitioning into this season. Spotlight squarely on him. He stepped right in and done a fantastic job.
To this point, the Marlins have figured out an answer for Ronald Acuna Jr. He is 0 for 2 after 3 games in the leadoff spot, producing for the Braves. But today, at the moment, 0 for 3-1. A big hack right back to the netting. 3-2. So Ziegler gets the 7th. Conley is up in the bullpen, potentially the 8th. We'll see. It's the only game in town right now, actually. Everything else is later tonight. A rare Wednesday off day. Grounded to Prado at third. And Acuna Jr. is retired. Hey, 3 ground ball outs from Brad Ziegler. Stop the presses. 9-3. Justin Bohr, Starlin Castro, and Martin Prado due up. We'll have to go into the off day tomorrow with some good feelings.
I'll tell you what, it wasn't just a one-day recovery, Paul. It was more of a two-day recovery. Sunday, team was in position to finish off a sweep in Tampa. Of course, ultimately end up getting walked off by the Rays. Grand Slam got it done in the bottom of the 9th inning, and I don't say this too often, but it certainly felt like it kind of leaked right into Monday. Yesterday was not a fun day for anybody associated with the Marlins. A bad loss. The pitching got knocked around. There wasn't a whole lot of offense going right. And oh, by the way, you had a 12 o'clock start time today. And once again, I said it almost all season long. Great response.
New pitcher in for the Braves, their third of the afternoon. Dan Winkler takes over. He's got 17 holds. He's had a few opportunities to close games with Arodys Vizcaíno currently on the disabled list.
JB's had a nice day, a couple of walks. First 2 times up, 16 multi-walk games this season. It's got him 4th in Major League Baseball. RBI base hit in the 5th.
You know where you can't walk to? Dublin. We'll get back to that tweet that I had before, or email that we got from Zach, a Marlins fan from London since 1997, now living in Dublin. Appreciate it, Zach. First of all, thanks for reaching out on this Twitter email Tuesday. Called strike 3 to Bohr. But with the Yankees and Red Sox approved for a 2-game series in 2019 in London, is that something that you guys in the booth would like to see the Marlins do in the future to build the sport and fan base in the UK and Europe? Also, do you think Derek Jeter would like his young, exciting team to participate in these series in the future and grow the game in Europe and perhaps enjoy the success the NFL has had over in London? Wow. All right. Excellent. Zach, thank you very much. I haven't been to London, so yes.
Absolutely yes.
Uh-oh. Castro sends it deep, but Inciarte with enough room on the track to make the catch. All right, but from a baseball perspective?
Absolutely yes.
Okay.
All angles. Both personal and professional. Absolutely yes. Keep it going. It's important to get the game a little bit more. I know we talk about that international flavor. I love it. Who doesn't?
Yeah,
it's growing. Certainly need to grow the game internationally.
The A's and the Mariners will open the 2019 season at the Tokyo Dome next year. And who knows, maybe Ichiro will be back. That was the speculation when he didn't say retirement. What did he say? He was stepping away from the game, or he kind of skirted it a little bit?
I think he was looking at the schedule. That's
right.
what I think he was doing.
I'm going to take a break. I forget how he worded it, but
I'm just starting to get ready now for opening season in 2019.
Yeah,
opening series.
Right. Ball 2 to Prado. That one misses outside. A ball and 2 strikes.
And Martina base hit this afternoon's ball game. 1 for 3.
Comes in the dirt. Where's the coolest place baseball has taken you?
Well, that's a good question. Trying to answer it here with 2 outs and 2 strikes in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Call that putting you on the spot, pal.
That's right.
Wake up.
Well, listen, I learned a lot about the game of baseball internationally by living and playing in the Dominican Republic multiple times. Spent nearly a year of my life there. It's interesting how you maintain a perspective of how the game is played in our country, but then you play in another country and you realize that it is the same game played a little differently.
Right. Over the shoulder catch by Freeman. My goodness. That is a heck of a play. I thought for sure that one might fall in over his head, but no. Freeman launches it into the mitt. Sierra in his Marlins debut came over in the trade with the St. Louis Cardinals along with Sandy Alcantara and others for Marcelo Zuna. This is again his Marlins debut. T-Mobile built for baseball. He's played in the bigs before. He's played in this ballpark before, but again, part of such a big trade, you know, there's probably some jitters, some butterflies. That's going to go down as a strikeout. We talked about it then. We don't need to rehash it now, but some of that speed on display. And so far, he's only been tested once in the outfield. But he did mention before the game when he met with the media that speed and defense has been and will be a part of his game. So something to keep an eye on.
He's going to get his groove back. And again, that first game, I mean, we talk about this all the time, first impressions. I mean, baseball's it's a little bit of a different sport. When you're in the NFL, you think first impressions matter, right? Well, 1/16 of that first impression, right? So much of it matters. Here, you know, you're going to play. You got another 60 games left on the schedule. Again, I'm not predicting his future, but just because it might be 0 for now and you know, a strikeout or two along the way doesn't mean it's not going to get better.
Well, that's good to see, by the way. Miguel Rojas into the game at first base. Left yesterday's game with some back spasms, a little bit of a tweak. Said after the game last night that he was going to see how he felt when he woke up in the morning. In there for defensive purposes in the 8th inning. So certainly good news for Miguel Rojas. As we talked earlier about Charlie Culberson, who follows it back to the screen, being considered a baseball player in a good sense. Miguel Rojas certainly fitting that bill here with the Marlins, but on a swing last night. See him kind of grab that mid to lower back.
You and I both, nice job by Adam Conley, great change if they're 85 miles an hour. We both kid him about the freeze spray, right, that he likes to use, and it was as I was running, I was like, yeah, I don't think you can use the freeze spray on the back.
I don't know.
It's good to see him back out there today, so I feel like it's okay to kid with him again.
You know, he stopped me on the plane the other day. He said, hey, you like when I use the spray, don't you? I said, yeah, I'm glad it's just the spray. You're not coming out of the game. You use the spray. It's good.
He stopped me on the plane. He says, you don't like it when I use the spray on the plane. I said, nah, no, I don't. I know Paul likes it when you do it. I don't like it when you do it.
The spray. It's the magical spray. Freddie Freeman with a base hit.
It's the cure-all. If we only all had a magical spray, right?
Amazing.
Surprise, surprise. Freddie Freeman's got a multi-hit day. All right, let's give you some Adam Conley numbers. Boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what, he's had an impressive season. There we go. 2.73 ERA. This is his 27th game. I pulled a Paul Severino and had a little fun with numbers here. during the break. You know where I'm going with this, so stop. Stop laughing. Well, I think it's important because even the one, get it out, mention it quick here, is the fact that I extracted his one poor performance that fell in Washington, D.C. Now, it wasn't that he got knocked around the yard that day. It was the walks that led to so much trouble. He couldn't throw strikes.
Right.
So I had some fun with that. We just showed you his great numbers on the season. But get this, 25, now 26 innings. He's only allowed 12 hits. 3 earned runs. If you remove, again, the blow-up appearance, 3-0 record with an ERA of 1.05. There's a reason his name has come up outside of Miami as the trade deadline approaches. He has been about as dominant as you're going to find. He has really taken to the bullpen.
Yeah, you hate when I do that.
I do. I'm sorry. I just did it. I apologize.
The only reason why.
I apologize. I mean, what more do you want from me?
Up and into Markakis. Real Muto gets to it quick, throws to second, but Freeman got far enough away from JT that Freeman can advance to second base. Now, when I do that, when I say if you take away X, I only do that to add context to the numbers.
And what do I always tell you? As you see this one get away from JT, that's high and tight.
Yeah.
What do I always tell you? You can't do that.
You can't do that. Baseball. I understand that. I understand that. The 4 ERA or whatever it is doesn't change, but if you realize that a lot of that damage was 1 or 2 outings for a player.
Well, I know what you're doing. You're proving a point. I love it, but you know, I just put an asterisk by today's game.
Markakis draws the walk. Would you tell me once? If I got 2,500 more hits, I'd have been a Hall of Famer.
That's right. Fortunately, that approach doesn't work in arbitration.
You're right.
It only works on live television.
Absolutely. If Fred McGriff had 7 more home runs, he'd have 500, probably in the Hall of Fame. It's just to add context. That's all.
Absolutely. Conley's got himself a little mess here. Top of the 8th.
Tyler Flowers, a couple of strikeouts today. Also a walk, a no contact afternoon. Saw Chen, now he'll see Conley. He has had a pretty good run against lefties this year. 457, 3 of his 4 homers, 11 of his 17 RBIs against left-handed pitchers. One and one.
That's a pretty good example of how much Conley trusts that changeup, doubling up the Flowers.
Freeman the runner on at second and Markakis at first. In the 8th inning, Markakis still without a hit. That 11-game hit streak in jeopardy. Fairly certain the Marlins don't care about that. Two balls and 2 strikes now to Flowers. On the ground, Prado steps on the bag, throws across the diamond, a stretch by Rojas to make the play. A slick double play from Prado to Rojas. This game goes to the last of the 8th. Strasburg and Straley coming up on Thursday night to start a 4-game series with the Washington Nationals. Straley has been pitching well as of late. Strasburg, in his first start out of the All-Star break, kind of got into it a little bit with his teammate, Max Scherzer, in the dugout.
Not sure that's the guy you want to get into it. I mean, I'm guessing he's the team captain, but you're right. This is going to be that the bounce back start. Well, I'm not. Altercation is in no way the right word. It was merely just words were, kind of out there and people honed in on. A little bit of communication or lack thereof. Strasburg stormed out of the dugout with a complicated start.
Yeah, it was his first start off the disabled list, and when he was lifted, he comes back to the dugout and. Hard to explain. I guess he kind of turned away from some high fives, maybe might be the fair way to describe it. And then he and Max Scherzer kind of exchanged words. They both went down into the tunnel. They finished what they started there. And then I guess after the game, the two of them and the manager Dave Martinez spent about 15 minutes hashing it out. Strasburg said afterwards, it's all in the family, which I'm sure happens in every clubhouse multiple times throughout the year. It just, that particular one happened to be caught on camera.
Well, in the meantime, I'm going to watch Biddle go after Riddle while I play my fiddle.
Ooh.
You didn't know I brought my fiddle to the ballpark? I didn't know you did that.
Time for the Toyota Trend. You want to take this one there? Let you do it.
There you go. Toyota Trend, National League pitches faced. I talk about this all the time. It's about the approach of the Marlins. Fantastic. 15,258. That's this season. That is what they do. Now, again, we talk about it a lot of times, like, who are the Marlins offensively? What do they do well? They grind. I mean, they put pressure on the mound in a lot of different ways. And this play by Freddie Freeman once again. A couple of special plays over the last couple innings. The idea that their offensive approach has been a grinded out kind of approach, meaning fouling off pitches, extending at bats, driving the starters out of the game early, and it's worked. And here at Marlins Park, you've got to maintain some element of that. You're not going to be able to, well, more times than not, slug your way back into ball games or expect that the home run is going to be a big part of what you do on a daily basis. Got to have an offensive philosophy. Mike Pagliarulo, Frank Menechino have done a fantastic job of implementing an approach that has worked for this group, certainly over the last 6 weeks. Great example in the box, Cameron Maybin, big league vet. He's doing some good things, beating up on the lefties for the most part, but again, his game is kind of rounded into shape here with extended playing time. A little different approach of late. Shorter swing. Concentrating on the middle of the field.
One ball and 2 strikes to Maybin. Struck out looking in the 6th inning, his first at bat of this ball game. I'm surprised you went fiddle. I figured middle would have been a little.
No, since I brought my fiddle this afternoon, I just figured it worked.
It's better than
in between innings.
It's better than the last road trip you brought your piano. Really slowed us down getting out of St. Pete.
As long as you take care of the people who handle the luggage, it's all good.
Some guys bring golf clubs. You bring a baby grand. I mean, it's your choice. WB Mason postgame show coming up after this one, as Drew Steckenrider is up, may get the 9th inning. Craig Minervini, Tommy Hutton, Gabby Sanchez from center field. where it looks to be raining outside again. Some happy campers. Absolutely. Both the kids and the Marlins today. They've got 9 runs on the board. A doorstep of a split of a 2-game series here against the Atlanta Braves. Knocked down by Camargo. A sharply hit ball by Maben. Base hit for Cam. Time for cricket. Something to smile about. Lots of campers here. Part of the 21,673 in attendance on a Tuesday afternoon. Camps from all over South Florida here.
Representing. I'll tell you what, we've seen popcorn flying out of the upper deck.
Oh, yeah.
Cheetos, ketchup, hot dogs, smiles.
I know. Absolutely.
Now the Marlins have responded to this energetic crowd this afternoon. 6-run lead here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
My son was one of the rabble rousers around here.
I was going to say, is he the one throwing ketchup packets?
Probably. If I had to guess. First at bat for Miguel Rojas. Takes the ball, 2-1. Miggy this year 10 for 24 with a couple of home runs and 5 RBIs against the Braves. In fact, his last 2 home runs came against Atlanta. 2-home run game in May at SunTrust Park. This one a ground ball to Culberson at second. And we move to the 9th inning. Marlins in control on a rainy day in Miami. Campers will get to see the end of this one. Southwest transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By La Lechonera, the original Mojo since 1970. And by your South Florida Honda dealers. Rain off and on here in Miami, but a fun day nonetheless. Now it looks like we're in the midst of a sun shower too, so it's all sorts of different weather today. But the Marlins raining hits down on the Braves today. 9 runs, 10 hits. Trying to get a split here as Drew Steckenrider takes over game number 49 for him. Camargo, Inciarte, Swanson due up for the Braves. Camargo with the fly ball out to Maben in left, moving toward the line for the first out of the night. Here's Ender Inciarte, a single and a run scored back in the 5th inning. A win or lose, and right now it looks like the latter. The Braves will certainly try their best to enjoy tomorrow's off day, including today. They're playing 32 games in 34 days.
If you were to factor in the last 3 days for the Braves, pretty eventful. What I mean by that is they were in D.C. prior to the trip down here to Miami, and a rain day on Sunday broke up that game. They didn't finish, or I should say get to Miami. Their fly ball to left, Maben underneath that one. Showing that he caught that with both hands quite deliberately. 2 outs. Now the Atlanta Braves, you mentioned, you picked up the win yesterday in pretty convincing fashion, but had gotten in about 3 o'clock in the morning yesterday, and then the quick turnaround today. Marlins will see these Atlanta Braves next week in Atlanta.
Swing and a miss by Swanson. 0-1.
A good start for Steckenrider. If you were to pick one team that he has kind of struggled with here in 2018, and there haven't been many, I'll explain it to you. It would be the Atlanta Braves. He's got a bloated ERA against the Braves and a 1.49 against everybody else, but a clean inning here in the 9th.
It's a Marlins win, 9-3 the final score this afternoon. So Miami gets the split in the short 2-game set against Atlanta. So Strasburg and Straley the next time the Marlins take the field. It'll be a fun ball game against the Nats. Yes, it's the first of 4, but also the night of the fantasy auction, the 13th annual Fox Sports Florida Fantasy Auction. Looking forward to that. The Marlins Live postgame show coming up next after a 9-3 Marlins victory. For Todd Hollinsworth and our crew, I'm Paul Severino saying thanks so much. Craig and the guys have you covered on the other side of the break.